Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is the 3rd of January, 2020. It's weird to say that out loud. We had some technical difficulties, so we're starting over. So we're going to do a little bit of a recap in case this is your first foray into what we're going to talk about today.
And hopefully our mouths light up with our video here. All right, jumping right in to this. I don't know if you know much, Michelle. You can still bring up the video of just another clip of the attacking of the U.S. Embassy, right? On New Year's Eve, there were Iranian-backed militias who went and attacked the U.S. Embassy in Iraq. And if you're not familiar with what's going on in Iraq, Iran has been doing these militia attacks, these almost like guerrilla warfare, going into Iraq, trying to take ground, killing U.S. soldiers, wounding the coalition soldiers, the United States and the Iraqi soldiers. Iraqis don't like Soleimani. If you don't know who he is the second in command in Iran. The second in command in Iran has just been taken out by Donald Trump for a long laundry list of reasons. My favorite is the fact that, like a health savings account, the war machine in Washington needed to use up their war dollars by the end of 2019, and I guess might be allocated. Anything happening as a result of something in 2019 gets allocated even if it's done in 2020. You know what I'm saying? And Michelle and I are kind of staying in the middle, trying to have cool heads about this. World War III was trending on Twitter. If you take out the number 2 in a country, you think that might be a declaration of war. However, this guy, his name is Qassem Soleimani, is the head of a known terrorist group. They go in, they commit terror. It's a really kind of a confusing. And Michelle and Iran, under this guy, worked with Bashar al-Assad in Syria to take out ISIS.
Right.
However, he mutilated other people's bodies. He had his own goals, and his goals wasn't because he wanted to rid the world of terrorists.
Right.
He is one. He had his own goals. All right. Iranians, like real Iranians, don't like the Ayatollah, don't like being under Muslim extremism, and certainly don't like this guy. So Iraqis are celebrating, Iranians are celebrating. Now, with the attack on the U.S. Embassy, you don't attack our soil. Now, everybody was saying that is our soil. That's what it's called. You know, it's ours, the U.S. Embassy. What people were saying when that was attacked was, this is Trump's Benghazi. They were laughing at him. They were mocking at him. They wanted it to go sideways. They literally, the left almost was drooling at the fact that U.S. soldiers would be massacred like they were in Benghazi. Trump didn't let that happen.
Right.
Now, an attack on Soleimani has been planned because he is a terrorist and he has been killing people.
He was already on the wanted list. I mean, he was meant to be taken out.
Going back to, a December 27th attack on U.S. and Iraqi coalition soldiers that killed an American, and injured many others. So now you have, if you want to call it a conspiracy, you want to call it a coup, well, they're ushering it on. These Ayatollahs, they go around saying death to America.
So let me play that video really quick.
So you can recognize that the background of why we went, the steps that led up to this. Go ahead.
Introducing Ziba.
Sorry.
The world's first.
And we'll skip the ad in 3, 2, 1. Okay, hopefully we have volume.
Well, they had volume the first time, though, that we played this CNN
Volume
thing.
muted.
Iranian protesters marched through what's normally a restricted part of the Iraqi capital. Some could be seen setting fires to blast walls surrounding the compound, smashing embassy windows, and trying to break down doors.
As Michelle and I pointed out, They could have taken the hinges off with
those
hammer.
hinges might not be made
And the
that
backlash
way, yeah.
you're seeing set off by Sunday's U.S. airstrikes against an Iranian-backed militia the U.S. blames for killing an American contractor last week. The sudden escalation between the U.S. and that group now fueling calls for American forces to leave the country. Meanwhile, President Trump is tweeting about the violence in Baghdad, saying in part, quote, Iran is orchestrating an attack on the U.S. embassy in Iraq. They will be held fully responsible.
This is where we stopped it before, because he says in part, he doesn't read the first part where it says Iran killed an American contractor, wounding many. We strongly responded and always will. Now Iran is orchestrating an attack on the U.S. embassy in Iraq. Okay, so there's that. So do you want me to go straight into the other video of Trump's response?
Yeah, let me give you just a little bit more background on Soleimani.
Okay, so then you mean no.
Go ahead and get it up. So Soleimani is head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Quds force, and it is a U.S. designated foreign terrorist organization. This is from the State Department. General Soleimani was actively developing plans to attack American diplomats and service members in Iraq and throughout the region. General Soleimani and his Quds force were responsible for the deaths of hundreds of American and coalition service members and the wounding of thousands more. He had orchestrated attacks on coalition bases in Iraq over the last several months, including the attack on December 27th, culminating in the death and wounding of additional American and Iraqi personnel. General Soleimani also approved the attacks on the U.S. embassy in Baghdad that took place this week. This strike was aimed at deterring future Iranian attack plans. The United States will continue to take all necessary action to protect our people and our interests wherever they are around the world. Trump did not tweet for 12 hours. And then he tweeted out the American flag. And then he tweeted out one of my favorite tweets, which says, Iran never won a war, but never lost a negotiation. So we see that Trump is being very Trump-esque. And we appreciate that in this time of craziness. The United States has paid Iraq billions of dollars a year for many years. That is on top of everything else we have done for them. The people of Iraq don't want to be dominated and controlled by Iran, but ultimately that is their choice. Over the last 15 years, Iran has gained more and more control over Iraq, and the people of Iraq are not happy with that. It will never end well. Okay? I think that Trump recognizes that we have forces there. We went into Iraq. He has a mess. And sometimes when you are to deal with somebody who's in a chainsaw accident, it never ends well. Okay, you're never going to put somebody back together again. We will not put Iraq back together again. But when you go after American troops, if Trump does not have a strong response, that spells disaster for the rest of us. Now I'm going to read one more tweet from him, and then we're going to hear from him. General Qassem Soleimani has killed or badly wounded thousands of Americans over an extended period of time and was plotting to kill many more. But he got caught. He was directly and indirectly responsible for the deaths of millions of people, including the recent large number of protesters killed in Iran itself. While Iran will never be able to properly admit it, Soleimani was both hated and feared within the country. They are not nearly as sad as the leaders would let the outside world believe. He should have been taken out many years ago. He is more of a terrorist and has killed more people than Osama bin Laden. Everybody was excited when Osama bin Laden was killed. What we did in Libya was a CIA-backed coup, taking out Gaddafi, which led to total chaos. Trump has said we're not looking for a coup. You also have the makings in Iran of people who have a sound mind. I don't know about Libya. You do have people who could rise up if the Ayatollah is gone to create a stable Iran. I don't know if Middle East is ever going to have peace because you have these different sects of Muslims and they hate each other.
Well, and Brittbaz actually just says, Michelle, one thing that needs highlighting is the fact that Islam is made up of three tribes. They are the Shiite, the Shiites, the Kurds, and the
Shia.
The Shia. I think
the Kurds are not Muslims. No,
I'm reading Brittbaz's comment, Leah.
Okay, well, the Kurds are not Muslims.
Okay. Anyway, there's three, and he says they're always infighting, and they forever will. always do that.
But the Kurds are fighting them, too. They are a sect in the Middle East. All right, so go ahead and play Trump.
So Solar here says, Soleimani did not kill ISIS. Kurds killed ISIS. Kurds lost 11,000 persons in the fight with ISIS. Soleimani only killed Syrian protesters against Assad regime. The Syrian protesters were not ISIS.
Okay.
And somebody wants you to start saying Soleimani instead of Meanie.
Okay.
Not that it really matters. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, man.
Catch a terrorist by its finger.
Wow. Okay,
all right.
Here we go. Let's get to Trumpy. Uncle Trumpy is what Leah likes to call him.
I do call him that.
That's not what I wanted. Here we go.
I do call him that.
All right, this is the third time is the charm.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. As president, my highest and most solemn duty is the defense of our nation and its citizens. Last night, at my direction, the United States military successfully executed a flawless precision strike that killed the #1 terrorist anywhere in the world, Qassem Soleimani. Soleimani was plotting imminent and sinister attacks on American diplomats and military personnel, but we caught him in the act and terminated him. Under my leadership, America's policy is unambiguous to terrorists who harm or intend to harm any American. We will find you, we will eliminate you, we will always protect our diplomats, service members, all Americans, and our allies. For years, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and its ruthless Quds force under Soleimani's leadership has targeted, injured, and murdered hundreds of American civilians and servicemen. The recent attacks on U.S. targets in Iraq, including rocket strikes that killed an American and injured 4 American servicemen very badly, as well as a violent assault on our embassy in Baghdad, were carried out at the direction of Soleimani. Soleimani made the death of innocent people his sick passion, contributing to terrorist plots as far away as New Delhi and London. Today we remember and honor the victims of Soleimani's many atrocities, and we take comfort in knowing that his reign of terror is over. Soleimani has been perpetrating acts of terror to destabilize the Middle East for the last 20 years. What the United States did yesterday should have been done long ago. A lot of lives would have been saved. Just recently, Soleimani led the brutal repression of protesters in Iran, where more than 1,000 innocent civilians were tortured and killed by their own government. We took action last night to stop a war. We did not take action to start a war. I have deep respect for the Iranian people. They are a remarkable people with an incredible heritage and unlimited potential. We do not seek regime change. However, the Iranian regime's aggression in the region, including the use of proxy fighters to destabilize its neighbors, must end, and it must end now. The future belongs to the people of Iran, those who seek peaceful coexistence and cooperation, not the terrorist warlords who plunder their nation to finance bloodshed abroad. The United States has the best military by far anywhere in the world. We have the best intelligence in the world. If Americans anywhere are threatened, we have all of those targets already fully identified, and I am ready and prepared to take whatever action is necessary. And that in particular refers to Iran. Under my leadership, we have destroyed the ISIS territorial caliphate. And recently, American Special Operations Forces killed the terrorist leader known as al-Baghdadi. The world is a safer place without these monsters. America will always pursue the interests of good people, great souls, while seeking peace, harmony, and friendship with all of the nations of the world. Thank you. God bless you. God bless our great military, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So here are some of my thoughts. And I know you said, Leah, that we're going to take this unbiased.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of read some of those comments too. If you
we can, I can pull it back up. Unbiased stance, and I guess I kind of still do think it's unbiased when I say this. That's right here, man. Trump has done something throughout the past 3 years that we aren't seeing any other president do, and that is to take quick, sharp, calculated, strong actions to make a stance that's, and because what we've seen leaders do heretofore is they'll just do a little bit of something. So here we are, we see these attacks on the embassy in Baghdad, right? And it's really significant what these protesters are doing. Mm-hmm. They've now killed an American contractor. Right. And when you take that as a storied paragraph, and that's all that it is, this seems like a heavy-handed extreme response. Mm-hmm. If that's all you're looking at. And I see the libertarians and, the progressives, like Caitlin Johnstone or whatever, getting all bent out of shape about this. But when you broaden that and you see what Soleimani has done and what will continue to happen and what could possibly happen in the lives that can be lost, he should already be held accountable for X, Y, Z. And so then you take this situation that's happening right now, and you have the generals that are on the ground that are saying, we have this opportunity. Soleimani is now here, and we don't know what his plans are, but we do know that he's enough of a threat that
what's
we
he
need
doing?
To take him out
Listen.
Right now.
Listen. Soleimani, if he was in Iran and we attacked him in Iran, that would be an act of war.
But he wasn't in Iran.
He was not in Iran. And that right here is the caveat. That's what tells me that's what tells me there's something different going on here. That's what tells me is, guess what, guys? It's not all the CIA.
Yeah.
There are bad guys. Okay? And this is a very bad guy. All right? He's not led by the Spirit of God. He's not led by the love of God. Okay? He's killed a lot of people. They are attacking
an American embassy.
If you don't understand that, and I would say this to the progressives or whoever, Iraq is not part of Iran. He has no legit reason for being there, except he controls these militias that are attacking Iraqis and our coalition forces. Now, here's the thing. This is why you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Should we have a coalition in Iraq? Right. I don't know. Right. But if you attack U.S. citizens, then we attack you back. And it can escalate. Now, Rand Paul has a cooler head. If we're going to war with Iran, you need to have congressional approval. Thomas Massey is saying the same thing. So I'm going to stand over here a little bit more on the side of Rand Paul and Thomas Massey. I hate war. I don't want to see 3,500 U.S. troops going over to Iraq again. Does that put us in there? These are the questions I want to ask. How long do they stay there? I thought we were pulling troops back. Why are we putting troops in? Okay?
But is killing a terrorist, even if they are the second in command, an act of war?
Exactly. No, it's not, because
because Trump said this is not an act of war.
Where's my chat?
It was right up there.
There was no people.
They're right there.
All right. Let's see. Vengeance is what keeps us warm at night, and America must retaliate to avenge the Americans that were killed by the Twisted Six people. Ronald Reagan never understood the irrationality of Middle Eastern politics. Iranian people are good, well-educated people. It's a pity that they have this government. The Hezbollah leader was also killed. It stinks because the people have been suffering because they can't get good leaders. They need Jesus. You all know that. Protect American borders first. Just now, Billy Night Train says, breaking update confirmed to senior commander of the branch. Khatib, the Hezbollah faction, has been killed among those his brother and 4 other security guards transporting them. Everybody said good night. Sola Maniac says redneck survivalist. It is an act of war to bomb in another country. Iraq doesn't belong to the United States. However, there's a coalition. I'm sure that Iraq approved of this bombing. So if it's not an act of war, it wasn't an act of war against Iraq. So that would be the act of war. Does that make sense? Listen, we can all talk about what's going on here, and go ahead and leave your opinions in there. If you're anti-war, if you're anti this, I'm not going to blame you. go ahead and voice those things. We're not going to argue with you there. Iraqis, here we have dancing in the street for freedom. Thankful the General Soleimani is no more. So I'm going to play.
So there were a lot of comments on Periscope too. We didn't get to, maybe we'll get to those in a little bit.
Go ahead. You can read them on.
Let's see. I'm Dave says we did Iran a favor by taking him out, but it was an indirected attack. He also says it was Iranian militia, not Iran military. He says no, he was being surveilled, not targeted. He was only targeted after the embassy was attacked. But why was an Iranian general even in Iraq?
That's the main. That's the main caveat.
Being there, the Iranians have always been a rogue organization. They made him out to be another boogeyman, like Bin Laden. Let's see. Brian O'Brien says, "Kega, keep America great again." Maria, I don't know what your comment was in response to, but she says yes, he does. And Charlie says we never declared war.
So I guess this picture's going around. Here is Soleimani. Here's this ring. So he's dead. The Imam Tawhidi says that he was kind of killed in the worst way possible. So General Pompeo says, or Mike Pompeo, sorry, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, I don't know why I said General. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said on Fox News and CNN on Friday morning that the White House rationale to take out Iran's top elite general, Soleimani, saying there was an imminent attack. So I don't, listen guys, I don't have access to those paperworks, weapons of mass destruction, fool me once, shame on. But here's the thing. When it comes to this, this is different because everyone around the world knows that Soleimani was doing these things. So it's not hearsay. Okay.
So I think that my question is, when do you, for all of our friends, and I call them friends, and allies, and those that are on the side of sanity, not wanting war, that are so angry that Trump has done this, my question for those of you out there would be, when is it ever right to respond when you are being threatened?
Exactly.
That's perfect. And so that's the question. Like, I get not regime change. I get maybe we shouldn't even be there to start with, okay? But since we are there...
The reason I was upset with Trump bombing Syria was because I'm a little person on Twitter and I can see that they were faked. You don't bomb people unless they do something bad. They do something bad, I have to step back and say, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay.
Right.
When you realized you would have a shot at General Soleimani and you wanted to take that shot?
Well, Brian, good morning. President Trump made the decision, a serious decision, which was necessary. There was an imminent attack. The orchestrator, the primary motivator for the attack was Qassem Soleimani. Attempted to disrupt that plot. You all have been talking this morning about the history of who Qassem Soleimani is. He's got hundreds of American lives, blood on his hands. But what was sitting before us was his travels throughout the region and his efforts to make a significant strike against Americans. There would have been many Muslims killed as well, Iraqis, people in other countries as well. It was a strike that was aimed at both disrupting that plot, deterring further aggression. We hope setting the conditions for de-escalation as well.
All right. The Pentagon did release a statement that one of the reasons that he was taken out now was because he was planning more attacks on Americans. What can you tell us about that generally?
Steve, I can't say much more, but you need not look any further back than just the last few months. Dozens and dozens of attacks against American and allied interests throughout the region by Iran and its proxies, culminating in what happened with an American killed on December 27th. But we've had artillery rounds fired in the direction of Americans to Iraqi facilities. There have been a series of actions, and we've watched that escalation take place. There was an American UAV shot down. The restraint that President Trump had shown was important. And it's now the time we needed to take action to restore deterrence. So the men and women who are on the ground there today, we take seriously the need for their security. We're working on it. We've been planning for this, and we're prepared.
We've been planning for this. We were prepared.
When he says to restore deterrence. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's really important. You have to understand that we're dealing with crazed maniacs, okay? The Middle East has been unstable for a really long time. Okay. And so when we look at what's happening right now, if you don't offer deterrence for crimes, and these are big crimes, they're war crimes, but they're still crimes. They're acts of war, essentially. When terrorists want to terrorize, we have to give them a reason to not want to, because they're never going to do it within themselves and just say, I've just decided that we're not going to terrorize people anymore. Okay. And so you can't just stand there and say, because I think somebody had said in the Twitter chat here on Periscope, and I'm kind of laughing at this comment here, says, your leaders are terrorizing other countries with no care, period. The U.S. is in the wrong, bad move, asking for a retaliation. Why do you think that 9/11 happened? So what you're saying is a woman who is being domestically abused by her husband, who may try to stand up to him, and then he hits her again, was just asking for it because she tried to stand up to him, and so it's her fault. So or any kind of bully, like somebody's trying to bully you and you stand up to them and say, no, enough is enough. And maybe you hit them back and then they're stronger than you and they can maybe come back and take you down or whatever. And you say, well, that's your fault because you shouldn't have stood up to them. You shouldn't have defended yourself. You've got to lie down. Like, how in the world is it that our government, you can count this as terrorizing other countries when Iraq is happy that we've taken out this guy who was terrorizing their citizens?
For history lovers, January 2nd is a significant date in terms of relations between the West and the East. Christopher Columbus was a witness to the Sultan's surrender. I just thought you guys might like this little piece of history here. January 2nd, A.D. 1492, Sultan Mohammed the 12th surrendered Granada to the Catholic monarchs, King Ferdinand II of Aragon and Queen Isabella of Castile, marking the end of Islamic rule in the Iberian Peninsula. I just thought you guys might think that that was kind of an interesting tidbit there. We do have, let's see, which is I have somebody, I don't know where it went, the Iranians celebrating. Let's see, I think it might be this one. We'll get to it later. All right, so as an Iranian, I want to thank you with all my heart. Iranians and Iraqis are celebrating after the Pentagon, under the direction of President Trump, carried out an airstrike in Baghdad that killed Iranian military leader Soleimani. The action came in response to the Iran-led attack on the U.S. Embassy in Iraq. So we do have footage of one of the vehicles strike killing Iran military. So one of the vehicles struck in the strike. Not much left. Totally obliterated. Both Iraq, let's see, confirmed. We see some celebrating here. Who is breathing a sigh of relief that General Soleimani is dead? Dissidents, feminists, and secularists from Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. He was a Shia Osama bin Laden with a national treasury and a flag. Who is crying foul? Obama alum Ben Rhodes, Code Pink, and Squad Code creator Senek Uyghur. I can't believe this. The blankety blanks are gone, but thanks anyway. And guess what? This Iranian calls him Uncle Trump as well.
Because everybody feels like he's their uncle.
Soleimani got smoked tonight. Now world can take a breath thanks to anyone who did this job. That's from an Iranian or an Iraqi, I don't know. It says, thanks POTUS for Soleimani. Behalf of the people of Iran fighting against the Islamic regime. As an Iranian, I want to thank you with all my heart, real Donald Trump, for putting an end to Soleimani. You just made the world a better place to live in. A lot of Iranians are still mourning for their loved ones who were killed by the IRGC and Soleimani's forces in the streets while protesting. This operation was really a relief for them. Thanks. The murder of Iranians, Iraqi and Syrians, Israelis, Yemenis, Lebanese, U.S. soldiers, and head of IRGC's a foreign wing or Quds force, General Soleimani, killed in Iraq. As an Iranian, I want to thank you with all my heart. With the little snake under a foot here. Wanted to see if I can bring up that whole picture. interesting that they use this picture. Let's see this picture here. Let's see, where are we? We Iranians thank real Donald Trump for his decisive order. He made a promise and kept it, unlike under Obama era when Israelis wanted to kill terrorist Soleimani, but Obama stopped them because he wanted to make a broken deal with the terrorist regime. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. This should have been done long ago, before Syria was destroyed by Soleimani. Justice is served. Soleimani killed several hundreds of thousands of civilians, including children, even in Iran. We are celebrating this in Iran. Dear Mr. President, in the last month, Islamic regime in Iran killed defenseless Iranian youth and children and then suppressed Iranian people. But today we get hope to continuing the struggle with this bloody regime. Thank you. This bloody hand belongs to Qassem Soleimani, the top general of the IRGC terrorist. This hand caused the death of thousands of Iranian, Syrian, and Iraqi people, and after years of killing, torturing, justice has been served. On behalf of all Iranians that have been taken hostage by the mullah's regime and those who lost their loved ones and also exiled Iranians, thank you. Dear Iran, the U.S. has disrespected your country, your flag, your people. 52% of us humbly apologize. This is Rose McGowan, and somebody says, the Iranian people beg to differ with you. Death toll of Iran protests surpassing 1,000, names of 221 slain protesters here. We have been seeing over and over and over and over and over again people tweeting out. There are women in jail under this same regime because their hijab wasn't right. We're just dissidents. People were speaking out. And like Bitraz, I believe, said, or somebody said, that the Iranian people are highly educated people. And so it's kind of like you have the leftists here and freedom lovers here. In Iran, it's a really interesting because of the education. You have a secular, almost secularist, or a portion of, or half of Iran who doesn't want to be under the Ayatollah, and half that do want to be under the Muslim extremist. It is way more dangerous there than it is here, obviously. But in the last 1,500 killed in 2 days just recently in Iran by the hands of the Islamic regime. Not a single word from Western media. Now look at this comedy show they've started on Twitter. A terrorist dies and people in Western countries are worried about World War III. Others singled out those criticizing the U.S. action, saying they do not need uninformed Westerners speaking on their behalf. A number of idiots under this tweet, and as evidence of how uninformed Americans are in Persian, we call them kabuk. Fake news has truly done a great job in the States. Developing U.S. Let's see a couple more. Yeah, I think that's kind of what you need to know. Looking at the Iranian accounts, what are the Iranians saying? What are the Iranians saying? Who I kind of can agree with, that want more secular government. They're saying, yeah, I'm really happy that this guy, he's a murderous, crazy guy. So, yeah. I don't go into something and say, no war, never, never, never. I don't go into it. I look at all aspects of what's going on.
So here's the deal. This is the way that it is. We don't operate regime change like we shouldn't. Okay, we have in the past. That, in my opinion, it's kind of like saying Christians, did all these awful things. Well, those people weren't really Christians, okay? So, in my opinion, the heart of America, the American government that should be, we, the people, did not do these things. Now, we do have to take responsibility for the things that, like George W. Bush did. Yes, the weapons of mass destruction that were not, okay, just to start war. Yes, we take responsibility for those who were in error. Okay, but Americans, we do not do regime change. However, when people that are in charge that are evil and that you would want to do a regime change for, when they create chaos, when they commit these acts, when they are an affront, when they come and attack, and then we take them out, and it just so happens that the result is that now there might be a regime change.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we're allowed to say, hey, you know what? That's a good thing.
Right, exactly.
That doesn't mean that we sought out to go and do this. Right. Now, like you said, Iran was on the list for regime change. But this guy was on the list to be taken out because of his crimes, because of his offenses against Americans.
I'm going to give you a little tidbit that is incredibly interesting here. hours before the U.S. strike at Baghdad's international airport that killed Iran's top military leader Soleimani, former Obama National Security Council official Stephen Simon posted in a New York Times op-ed that Soleimani could be assassinated using a hypersonic missile while visiting Baghdad. This is a very interesting tweet. Literally hours before. He described Soleimani as the former commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, when he in fact is in charge of the Guards Quds force until his death, just recent. So he tweets out, and I can bring it up. It's right here, and I'm just going to read it to you. If someone says, "Oh my goodness, what the blankety blank?" He says this: hypersonics are a weaponized moral hazard for states with a taste for intervention because they erase barriers for picking fights. Is an adversary building something that might be a weapons factory? Is there an individual in an unfriendly country who cannot be apprehended? What if the former commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, Soleimani, visits Baghdad for a meeting and you know the address? The temptations to use hypersonic missiles will be many. And then hours later, he was shot and killed. Very
so Adeline says, I saw that OMG, they were trying to warn him. Treason.
Oh, it could be. It could be. Just as American oil workers and all Americans are told to leave Iraq right now. Leave Iraq. New York Times journalist offers kind of a weird eulogy to the killed terrorist.
Do that.
Terrorist. Her name was Fernanz Fahi, and she posts this. She posts him reading a poem.
یاران همه رفتند افسوس که جا مانده منم حسرتا این گل خارا همه جا رانده منم پیر ره آمد و طریق رفتن آموخت آن که نارفته و جا ماند.
Creepy to me. Wow. So rare personal a video of him reciting poetry about friends departing and being left behind. Mike Cernovich says, whenever you think the media can't go lower, they surprise you. This man was a terrorist who murdered hundreds of American soldiers, and this New York Times reporter is tweeting out a video clips in an apparent effort to humanize him. Dinesh D'Souza says this comes as close as this left-wing journalist dares to a eulogy for Soleimani. How could he be this evil figure? This man was a gentle soul and lover of poetry. Next up, a touching photograph of Hitler painting sunset. And don't forget, I believe it was the Washington Post, it could have been the New York Times, who their article on Ella Baghdadi, I think. Mm-hmm. No, not Baghdadi. Whoever was just killed recently.
I think it was Baghdadi, wasn't it?
I don't think it was before. Anyways, got Gaddafi. No, whoever, they're all dying.
Gaddafi is
stop.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton.
Anyways, whoever recently just died in Syria, they said a religious scholar. And religious scholar.
Go with your gut.
All right.
Wait. Nafa says, I am in Iraq, and we are people afraid of a war in Iraq between Iran and the United States of America. Interesting take.
Your thoughts are the most important.
Yes.
And I was kind of going to get to that because there's a thread actually I tweeted out where people, I'm sure that you're happy that he's gone, but do you want to, we have these things called, we call them ground beasts. They're wasps that live in the ground. And normally they flutter around and they kind of go where trash cans are. But if you would go after their nest, they'll come after you. And so I realized that Iraqis don't want a war with Iran. They don't want more people dead. Over 1 million Iraqis have been killed. Christians have had to flee to Syria and to other places. They're just now trying to start to rebuild Iraq. And what we did, what Americans did, what George Bush did to your country, we apologize for. Going in and toppling Saddam Hussein and then trying to set up some sort of democracy, and was it worth 1 million lives? Absolutely not. So if you're going to see hundreds of thousands of people die, it's not worth it. There's got to be a better way,
right? Okay,
but Soleimani was killing thousands of people. So it's 10 of one, 20 another. Keep leaving your thoughts. What do you think should be done? Representative Ilham Omar vowed to step in and stop President Trump after an airstrike killed the head of Iran's elite Quds force, General Qassem Soleimani. Responding to a tweet from Senator Chris Murphy, who asked, did American just assassinate without any congressional authorization the second most powerful person in Iran, knowingly setting off a potential massive regional war. Ilhan Omar tweeted, "So what if Trump wants war, knows this leads to war, and needs the distraction? Real question is, will those with congressional authority step in and stop him? I know I will." Then you have Friday's Omar squadmate Rashida Tlaib ripped President Trump. "We cannot stay silent as this lawless president recklessly moves us closer to yet another unnecessary war that puts innocent lives at risk at home and across the globe. Congress alone has the authority to declare war, and we must reclaim our responsibility and say no to war with Iran." So you see Adam Schiff and the people on the left saying that this is horrible and trying to rip Trump a new one there. But, so I'm going to say this. When Trump tweeted out to the threats from North Korea, Little Rocket Man, they believed that he was starting World War III there, that they would push the beast. Iran keeps testing Trump like a little pest. Mm-hmm. How far? How far? How far can I push you? How far can I push you? How far can I push you? I got a set of cards in my hand. I'm going to put them down. And I'm going to say, Trump, I think on this one he knows what he's doing.
Now, let's balance this for those of you that have no idea, you weren't following Resistance Chicks at all when Trump bombed Syria. You weren't there when we went live instantly and we're like, Trump, what are you doing? Do not do this.
Twice.
Yeah, like we called him out on it. I'm not trying to say that Leah and I are an authority. Like, we are fallible human beings.
Sure.
Okay? But what I am saying is we aren't puppets. We're not just following blindly. Well, if Trump says this is what he's going to do, we're going to do it. We just agree with Mr. Trumpy Trump.
No.
Okay, that's not who we are. We have been holding Trump's feet to the fire from day one. Mm-hmm. Okay? Like, we have been probably his biggest supporters that are also his biggest skeptics, like just
critics,
critics, like saying, "Do not do this. Yes, this is right. Yes, this is wrong. This is where you need to make these changes."
Right.
Okay, but I do believe that he is the man for the hour, and I think that there are a lot of things going on here that we don't have all the information on.
I think that that's the key, like there with Iraq and everything. I think in Syria there was more information.
Oh, there was way more information.
And because it'd been going on for a while, and you could see the videos, you could see that these quote unquote Syrian rebels were faking it, and they've been faking it for years.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do not have all the information available, so you can only kind of go with what you know, and obviously that's what we can do right now, is kind of go with what we know. We do know here that the Ayatollah, the leader of Iran here, vows severe retaliation against criminals responsible for killing Iranian general. Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, warned in a statement that the criminals responsible for the death of a top Iranian general will face severe revenge, and that his work fighting on behalf of the Iranian people won't be stopped by his, quote, martyrdom. The statement was issued in response to Friday morning's game-changing drone strike. It was published in English by an unverified but widely cited Twitter account. And dear Iranian nation, years of sincere, brave efforts fighting against the devils and villainous in the world, and years of wishing for martyrdom on the path of God, finally took the dear commander of Islam, Soleimani, to this lofty status. His blood was shed by the most barbaric of men. We congratulate Imam Mahdi and Soleimani's pure soul and condole the Iranian nation on this great martyrdom. He was an eminent example of a person trained in Islam. He spent all his life in struggling for God. Martyrdom was the reward for his tireless efforts over the years. His efforts and path won't be stopped by his martyrdom, by God's power. Rather, a quote, hashtag severe revenge, Allah's hashtag,
wow,
awaits the criminals who have stained their hands with his and other martyrs' blood last night. Martyr Soleimani is an integral figure of resistance. Word of resistance. And all such people will seek revenge. All friends and enemies know that jihad of resistance will continue with more motivation and definite victory awaits the fighters on this blessed path. The loss of our dear general is bitter. The continuing fight and ultimate victory will be more bitter for the murderers and criminals. The Iranian nation will honor the memory of him in 3 days mourning, blah, blah, blah. The tweet was published shortly after news of the attack. So here, the difference here is Bashar al-Assad doesn't think he's on he doesn't claim to be on some sort of quest from God. He is from a small sect of Muslims that actually believe in celebrating Christian holidays. And that, my friends, is why I supported Bashar al-Assad. Because he did not kill Christians. He, under Bashar al-Assad, Syria was the only place besides Israel and the Middle East that allowed Christians and Muslims to live and work side by side. When you saw videos, my eyes saw videos of Syria, the women looked Western. Some of them had hijabs on. Many of them did not. They had regular Western clothes on. They were not under any sort of religious oppression. Bashar al-Assad did not believe that he was waging some sort of holy war against the world.
He's not a theocracy,
and the West.
And that's the difference.
Bingo. He doesn't believe he was
Iran is a theocracy.
You got it, baby. You got it. You got it. All right. And here's the thing. The difference also under Saddam Hussein, Iraq was way more liberal than it is even today. Christians commingled with Muslims. Things like that.
Ruby said the exact same thing. Syria is a secular nation. So yes, great minds think alike.
China urges calm and restraint. There's your line. I don't even want to care. I don't really care, but it's so funny. New York and Los Angeles ramp up security after U.S. kills top Iranian commander. Mayor Blasio says that they will keep vigilant for any threats. Vigilant. Whatever. While LAPD says while there is no credible threat to Los Angeles, the LAPD is monitoring the events developing in Iran. We will continue to communicate with state, local, and federal and international law enforcement partners. I wouldn't want to be in New York right now.
No, oh my gosh.
Trump jabs Dems over Iran reaction, rages that killer Soleimani should have been taken out years ago. And we actually read those there, but again, Iran never won a war but never lost a negotiation. Here he is, art of the deal. Trump's got a formula and he will use it with everyone, including crazed maniacs.
And that's another thing though, Iran never won a war. So yes, these people that are first of all, if you're using the hashtag World War III, you don't really understand what a world war is.
Exactly.
That's number one. Okay. Pretty much a good portion of the world has to participate. Historically, it's been kind of the westernized countries in that war. Some Asian countries in there too. Not really Middle Eastern countries involved in our world wars. So it's a little bit different. So number two is they would lose in a war against us. Iran would lose. And so they don't really, I don't think you're going to be afraid that we're going to go to war with Iran, because it would have to be a special kind of stupid for them to step up and say, we're going to war against the United States and all their allies who would probably stand with us in solidarity. So, Trump really has nothing to lose here. We're not going to war with Iran. Like, legit, we are not going to war with Iran because Iran would be stupid. We have all the cards.
Right.
It would be pure insanity. It would be suicide, which they do have suicide people. They're terrorists.
Yeah, so here we have, because Iran's conventional forces are weak, Tehran often works through militias, terrorist groups, and other proxies to advance its interests abroad. The IRGC, with the Quds force in the lead, is the key Iranian liaison with the Lebanese Hezbollah, the strongest paramilitary organization in Lebanon, and one that has attacked Israel and the U.S. at Iran's behest. The Quds force also works with Palestinian terrorist groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad, among other nefarious organizations in other countries. Soleimani can, therefore, be considered responsible for the deaths and injuring of tens of thousands. No one should shed a tear for his demise. In fact, many Iraqis and Iranians are already celebrating. Let's see. Unfortunately, attacks on U.S. forces and facilities in Iraq should be expected. Tehran has spent years building up extensive networks among militia groups and politicians in Iraq. One indication of that was Iran's ability to rapidly mobilize local proxies to violently demonstrate at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, creating a grave security risk to personnel there. It eventually led to the airstrike that killed Soleimani. And the PMF leader al-Muhandis, the apparent organizer of the attack on the embassy. The effect on Iraqi politicians may be significant, many of whom by necessity or by choice have chosen ties to Iran. Pressure may grow to oust U.S. forces from the country, which could undermine efforts against the Islamic State as well as U.S. objectives in the region. The killing of Soleimani and targeting of pro-Iranian forces in Iraq like al-Muhandis will ratchet up the already dangerous tension between the U.S. and Iran. By ordering the airstrike on Soleimani and al-Muhandis, President Trump demonstrated decisive action against America's enemies, but the eventual outcome, whether the United States emerges stronger, whether war can be avoided and bloodshed limited, will depend on Trump's ability and those in his administration to remain steadfast, formulate long-term strategy, and work closely with our allies.
I want to expound on my thought there, just to finish it, because I was like, wait a minute, hang on. So, yes, we're not going to go to war with Iran because they realize that we have bigger guns. We are a bigger superpower than they are. They would not win. They can't stand against us. Now, so what are people afraid of? It goes back to the comment of somebody from Periscope here. You're afraid of a 9/11. So what you're saying is, once again, their act of war against us, their way of warring against us is going to be almost like a guerrilla type warfare, not fair, going after innocent lives. Terrorizing people, bullying. So if Trump does this, then they're not going to declare like war against us to fight our military guys. That's what a war would be. They're going to declare war on innocent civilians via act of terrorism, and that's what you're afraid of. And so what you're saying is leave the sleeping giant be and be okay with the occasional act of terrorism, because they're going to do that.
Yeah.
Instead of taking him out and saying, no, this is enough. Terrorists don't really go to war. They always just use acts of terrorism to kill people, because they don't care if they kill innocent lives. And that's not war. There's no Geneva Convention with them. To me, an act of war would be, there are rules involved. There's no rules. This is MMA. This is like mixed martial arts, whatever. Like, there's no rules. You literally just go in and there's no holds barred for them on their side. And that's what's not fair, because we do operate under a certain set of guidelines. Okay? And so that's what makes this totally different. You can't really compare it to anything, because there's not going to be war with Iran. Will they ramp up something worse? That's not how you operate as a human being.
Right. Senator Chris Murphy says, no one can claim to know with certainty what happens next, but what? Oh, sorry. But the neocons thumping their chests tonight should recall that the worst mistakes global powers make are when they strike militarily in complicated places with few friends with no consideration of the consequences. But then Murphy went on CNN with General James A. Spider Marks, a retired military analyst on the Liberal Network, and he said, what I would say to Senator Murphy is, why don't you just be quiet? Look, when has Iran ever demonstrated self-restraint? I mean, that's the question I have. So is the world more dangerous today? Maybe it's more dangerous, but when has it not been dangerous? When have we not been a target of a regime like exists in Tehran? I mean, it happens as a matter of routine. He said taking out Soleimani was necessary, and a chance to do so arose quickly. The opportunity presented itself, and I'm certain what happened was the president made the determination, let's pull the trigger now, calling it naive for Soleimani to think he could travel freely in Baghdad after Iran backed aggression. I would say it's not casually linked to what occurred at the U.S. Embassy a few days before, other than he happened to be checking up on what was taking place there. So, there's that. I think I want to go ahead and move on to some other news stories, but do you have some final thoughts, Michelle?
No, I mean, I'm not. I guess somebody had left a comment on our YouTube chat here saying, that they may try to assassinate Trump as a response, as a way of retaliation. And that threat is always there. Honestly, guys, there are so many people that would rather have Trump killed. I'm sure that Hillary Clinton has probably tried to have Trump killed. Okay, like there are a lot of people. The only reason he is alive right now is because God is protecting him. Okay, and so that's on Trump. Like if he's making these decisions, he understands that his life is on the line. That's between Trump and God. So we're going to see how this plays out. But I want to wrap up that segment with this. Go back and watch our show from New Year's Day with the 7 steps. Leah and I have been feeling, and so many other Christians have been feeling, that God is moving in 2020. Okay, so as soon as this happened, as soon as you told me that it happened, my first thought is, wow, in 2020, my senses are really heightened to anything. I believe that anything that happens right now is really significant to my optimism of God moving, God continuing to move. You see, any man's man, right, responding in a manly way, will put a stop to bullies instantly. No, enough of you. When you're handling a dog that's out of control, enough of you.
With Trump, it's just making sure that he does it to the right person at the right time.
Exactly.
And not based on false reports.
I don't put my trust in Trump at all.
No.
I put my trust in God. And so when we filter you need to understand the way that Leah and I think, the way that we process everything is through the will of God. Not Trump is awesome, Trump is not awesome, what's going on in the world. We always take it to God and what God is doing and how does this fit in? How do these world events fit in through what God is doing?
What if this guy killed Christians and this is God's revenge on Christians?
Yeah,
because there's a lot of Iraqi Christians that were pushed out, and they were pushed out by these Iranian forces.
Right, and so I guess it's not, and it's
I see Leah and I. It's not Christianity.
We don't believe in regime change. We don't believe in a lot of different things, but I am very well versed in the Bible and the Old Testament and the way that God has moved historically through. The Bible says, and I just read this today, we don't battle against flesh and blood, but against rulers and principalities. And in my Geneva Bible, it actually says governors. And we were in a part of town yesterday, and we felt this darkness. And as soon as you cross over this line, we've said we always felt this darkness on this side of town. There's just something weird. And we were like, you know what? I think there's really a spiritual oppression. There must be a demonic force that rules this area. And when I read that today about principalities and governors, that means that in the spirit realm, there are demonic and probably angelic forces that rule different areas dependent on the permissions that the people that live there have given them.
What's very interesting about that line, and I'm just going to throw this out there, is that line is right at the Mercy Christian Hospital.
Yeah.
It's a giant hospital. It's called Mercy. And when you walk into that hospital and have goosebumps, it's a giant Christian mural of Jesus healing people.
Right. So, yeah, absolutely. So my point is, my allegiances don't fall even to like a libertarian sect. Well, you say you're a libertarian, or you say you're anti-war, you say you're this, you say you're that. I'm pro-God. And I'm pro whatever God is doing. And God doesn't limit himself to Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, war, anti-war, whatever. Okay? And so what you're going to get here at Resistance Chicks is totally different than you will get anywhere else on any other channel. InfoWars. I'm trying to think of these shows that Mom watches. All of these people that we love. We aren't them. We are totally different. We will always 100% filter it through what is God doing.
So this is breaking news, by the way. Okay, never mind. We're going to get our volume up here. Breaking right now. We're getting more news. It's faux real. Hang on just a second. I wanted to check before I left, because this is a developing situation. If there was
So breaking right now, we're getting more news of U.S. airstrikes, additional ones just moments ago, and happening just north of Baghdad. This is according to Iraqi officials. The airstrikes were targeting 2 vehicles carrying Iran-backed Shiite militias. This is said to be a picture from that scene. I want to point out that these are very new pieces of information, and we're sorting it out as we speak. There are reports of at least 5 people dead and that several others are wounded. We do not know yet who was traveling in those vehicles, but we're working on it. We'll get all that to you as soon as we get some.
So I wanted to bring that to you. If you guys, tonight around 8 o'clock, at the end of our show, you can probably, just like we will, cooler heads prevail. Tucker Carlson always kind of knows how to spin things for us.
Okay, so we've got these people being killed. So, okay, I'm going to throw out a hypothetical here because we don't know what, it says they're Iran-backed, whatever. So let's say everybody's saying, you don't understand. These people are going to retaliate and they're going to do things and innocent lives are going to be lost. Okay. Well, let's say that those 5 militia, they were set for the retaliation. Okay. And somehow our guys on the ground know it. They tell the powers that be, boom, take them out too. Another retaliation comes. What if this were to continue to happen? Boom, we're going to take them out. Boom, we're going to take them out. Were innocent lives lost in those 5 people?
No.
Do you think it's possible that innocent lives were saved?
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's not be like totally pessimistic going into this.
Right.
Let's be optimistic. What if we are prepared to stop the retaliations, nip them in the bud in a surgical precision type manner that just kills those people? I don't see anything but goodness out of that.
Okay, so flashback. Iran's Soleimani hired Mexican cartel associate to assassinate Saudi ambassador on U.S. soil. In May 2011, discussions began secretly in Mexico between a known Los Zetas associate and Quds force operator Mansour Arbasiar. The discussion would lead to planning a C4 detonation at a Washington, D.C. restaurant frequented by Saudi ambassador Adel Jubeir. The Quid Force operative did not know that he was being recorded in a DEA operation. Over the course of a few months, several clandestine meetings in Mexico planned strikes against the Israeli embassy in Washington, plus the Saudi and Israeli embassies in Argentina. New opium trafficking lanes between the Middle East and Mexico were also charted. Between Afghanistan. In July 2011, Arbasiar returned to Mexico to continue meeting with the DEA informant. He explained that his bosses in Iran had plans for more violence in addition to the Saudi ambassador's murder. On July 14th, the informant told the DEA that Arbasiar recruited 4 men to carry out the plot and would charge a total of $1.5 million US. Advance payments of nearly $50,000 were wired to an FBI-controlled bank account to overt act of validating the conspiracy. So you have this connected to Soleimani. So just so you know that there's a connection there. All right. So we're gonna move on.
Okay.
We're gonna move on. We're moving on now. Here we have, I'm an Iranian by birth. Iranians are happy. Do you realize that this guy was a psychopath, part of a group that tortured, raped, sodomized its own citizens? Do you have any clue, or do you just want attention? Soleimani makes Harvey Weinstein look like a saint. Let that sink in. Now, Trump was actually giving his remarks at the Evangelical for Trump Summit, I believe in Florida.
Really?
Yes. So I want to play this clip here where he talks about Christ Church, or the West Freeway Church of Christ in Texas, and keeping your Second Amendment.
A few days ago, a murderer opened fire during service at a church near Fort Worth, Texas. Our prayers are with the families of the victims and the congregation. We're grateful that the shooting was over in 6 seconds. You know why? Because we had somebody that had a gun going in the other direction. You had 242 people, worshipers, they were praying, and this maniac walked in and started shooting. But yet a man had a gun, he knew how to use it. And in a very short period of time, that was the end, but 2 people died. But you had 242 people. They would have perhaps all been dead, every one of them. And then these people talk about guns and gun safety and gun rights, and honestly, they don't really know what they're talking about. But many lives were saved by these heroes, and Texas laws allowing them to exercise their Second Amendment right to bear arms.
In church.
And your Second Amendment is under siege. But I guess that's why they don't love me. Look, there's so many reasons they don't like me. This is one of many. But as long as I'm here, and I'm going to be here for a long time, your Second Amendment is protected.
Oh, my gosh.
So, somebody over here, we've got, we had Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, and now Soleimani. All force leaders are dead. Somebody says, doesn't agree, and that's fine. You can go ahead. Let's see. Somebody says, I'm not always a fan of Majid Nawiz, but his Twitter thread explaining all this has been spot on so far, including these extra strikes. You know what? I'm going to go to that because Majid Nawiz is probably somebody that he is kind of a leftist as far as Majid Nawiz, Nawaz, I don't know exactly how to say it. He is he Pakistani or is he Iranian? I think he's either Pakistani or Iranian. I believe that he's Iranian. He is a former Islamic extremist. He's level-headed. And he's pretty good so I'm going to go ahead and do his thread here, and I do trust his judgment in a lot of things.
I think he went past. He started with 1. Going back up. See. They have a 1. It says 1, 2, 3.
Well, here we have. Okay. For Western leftists caught off guard by President Trump's Soleimani gambit, the below is a sentiment that many young Syrian and Iraqi politicos I know will share. The streets of Iraq have been going through a nascent and bloody but refreshingly anti-Islamist Arab awakening. The killing of Soleimani should be viewed no different than the killing of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. This man was responsible for the killing of many innocent Iraqis. Heck of a criminal he was. He was also responsible for the killing of many Syrian civilians. So I want you guys to know that straight off. Here we have, no man in the world was directly involved in more conflicts in more countries over a longer period than Qassem Soleimani. His death is a huge loss for an Iranian regime that's actively fighting 3 cold proxy wars with America, Israel, and Saudi Arabia that could all turn hot. This is from senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment. So I believe he is, I don't know if he's an atheist, but I think he's an ex-Muslim. I'm not quite sure. As Iran's undisputed military commander, Soleimani built a Shia foreign legion that played an inevitable role in the region's bloodiest conflicts, including Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. So when we're talking about, the U.S. goes into all these places and they create destabilization. Well, if you're against the U.S. creating destabilization, then you should be against Soleimani creating destabilization because that's what he was doing. Okay? Though he was never going to die a natural death, his personality cult left no clear successors. Trump's inaction over numerous Iranian attacks through 2019 against regional oil tankers, a U.S. drone, the Saudi Aramco, led Khamenei to believe, understandably, that Trump was all bluster. Khamenei's open taunting of Trump proved a miscalculation. Soleimani wasn't a U.S. ally in the fight against ISIS. his complicity in Assad's mass displacement murder of millions of Syrians, including via chemical and this is where I disagree, okay? The patronage of Iraq's violent Shia militias fueled the Sunni radicalization that helped spawn ISIS. Soleimani was a polarizing figure in Iran, beloved by the regime, both hardline and moderate factions, admired by zealous Persian Shia nationalists for his fight against Arabs and Sunnis, and loathed by many Iranians tired of living under a police state. This person says, for many Iranians, Qassem Soleimani was a warmonger who caused massive casualties in Syria. He was no hero to the average Iranians who chanted against the country's support for Hezbollah and Hamas. One senior U.S. official told me, it was important to show Iran we own escalation. If they kill one of our men, we kill 30 of theirs. If they attack our embassy, we can take out their military commanders. For U.S. military officials who served in Iraq, Soleimani was enemy number one. The predictions of today mean little. The impact of Soleimani's death will take years to play out. Iranians warn of more bloodshed, while many Syrians and Iraqis are rejoicing that the man they hold directly responsible for countless civilian casualties is no longer around. While many are predicting World War III, the last 40 years of Iran's history reflect that what's paramount for the Islamic Republic is its survival. Tehran can ill afford a full-blown war with the U.S. while facing onerous economic sanctions with internal tumult, especially without Soleimani. What's more likely is sustained proxy attacks against U.S. interests and allies regionally and even globally. Iran has a long history of such attacks in Europe, Africa, Asia, and Latin America with mixed success. Regime apparatchiks are already telegraphing. As usual, the Ayatollah Khamenei must carefully calibrate his reaction. A weak response, risk losing face. An excessive response, risk losing his head. Khamenei is Trump's most consequential international adversary in 2020. So that is actually a really kind of an interesting thread here. I'm going to go and retweet that out so you can find that yourself. Majid says almost all Iranian, Iraqi, Syrian, both from there and Western experts and trusted anti-Islamist voices I know are making effectively the same points. These are the anti-Islamist Arabs. I have to listen to them. That is that's their place. It's not my place. I'm not going to listen to pro-Islamists. But there are Muslims who are against Islamism. And Majid is one of them. And I have to side with him. I have to go with what they're saying. And all these voices from the Arab country who are saying this is a good thing. Don't lament Soleimani just because you hate Trump. And no one can know what happens next because what Trump did was so unpredictable. 10 signs to watch for by people tweeting who know nothing about the Middle East but will now talk as if they do. Before yesterday, they'd never heard of Soleimani and still struggle to remember what his first name was. They'll proactively and without invitation condemn America in the region without saying anything at all about Iran in the region, thinking this wins them brownie points from brown people from the region. It does not. At some stage, they'll either accidentally tweet out or otherwise approve of official Iranian state propaganda and voices sent by the theocratic regime without realizing it because they have absolutely no idea how to recognize Iranian propaganda. Okay? Their narcissistic obsession with hating Trump, even at the expense of hundreds of thousands of dead Arab civilians, and the medieval theocratic oppression of millions of Iranians, will be what really guides their analysis and not what's objectively happening on the ground. Just as they'll struggle to recall Soleimani's first name, they'll think watching this person on Netflix, no offense my bro, qualifies as knowing a Muslim voice, in order to then pronounce their emotionally charged hot takes on Middle East politics in defense of Muslims. They will be unable to recognize or even name Iran's terrorist militias everywhere in the world responsible for war crimes that were often on par with or worse than ISIS in Syria and elsewhere with all the wars Iran has interfered in. They will be unable to tell you which is Soleimani's largest and most effective terror group, who leads it, and which country it practically runs entire regions in. They've never heard of the word Hashd and cannot tell you what it means. Me neither. Nor could they name the entire Arab countries and populations who absolutely despised and hated Soleimani as a genocidal maniac and who will be dancing in the streets with joy right now. They will read the above thread and turn very binary on me by accusing me of being pro-Trump or pro-Saudi rather than understanding the mixed picture I'm painting without ever having a relationship with anyone in the Middle East beyond Twitter. And so there, I'm going to tweet that out again so you can read. Majid Noiz, that's a very level-headed response, right? So I think that it might be Yeah. I think that's good. I think that's a really good way to end that with Majid Noise and hearing. Listen, all I have to know, here's the thing. This is what I do. Who do I align with ideologically most? And what are they saying in that situation? Because I've never been to Syria. And I looked and I followed and I saw there were Christians. And I saw Assad celebrating Christmas with Christians. And I saw that the Syrian rebels who were attacking Assad were harder lined Islamists. I'm going over here with the Muslim who likes Christians. Okay? And that was the decision, my process making when I went from Trump is kind of like immorally bankrupt to...
You mean morally bankrupt?
Morally bankrupt to who's following Trump? Who hates him? Who's following him? Who hates him? The Christians over here were like, dude, Trump. And I'm like, and I started listening to what he was saying. I was like, dude, Trump. And when we come, we're not people who sway in the wind.
No.
Okay. So when we started to support Trump, we're not people who go back and forth. It took a long time for us to understand the dynamics of what was happening in this country. And I saw that those over here on the left literally were going Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, take your guns, progressives. And so I knew that the Holy Spirit led us to, and the Russia thing.
At the beginning of 2016, we were vehemently anti-Trump. Yeah. I think you can go back and you can watch Michelle's righteous rant for Christian against Trump, whatever.
So you could see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Throughout that entire year leading up to November, we began to, like you said, study and our position started to change. We were allowing the fruits to speak for themselves. But even then, we wanted Trump to win because never Hillary. We wanted Trump to win, but we still had to vote our conscience on Trump.
Right.
And so we voted Kansas for president, farms for everyone. We did not vote for Trump. I am unashamedly, I will tell you that. Will I be voting Trump 2020? Yes. But I just need you guys to know that, like you said, we don't sway. Everything that we do is done by analyzing, by praying, by seeking the Lord. Nothing is done rashly. We don't sway, but at the same time, we don't hold like intense loyalties to people. Mm-hmm. I'm loyal to my family, and that is it. Anybody else, y'all, I'm not loyal to you. Mm-hmm. I'm loyal to God and my family, and that's the end. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not a loyal Trump supporter. I'm not going to follow him no matter what.
What we saw was a line drawn in the sand. And we were like, we have to stand over here. And the more we stood over here, the more we saw that every time Trump goes to a Trump rally, those people and their voices change him again.
Exactly.
And they listen to him. And I realized what we had in Trump is Trump was listening to the people that I'm going to stand with no matter what.
Right.
Okay? All right. So that's what's happening here with Soleimani, whose name I did not know. So I got to go with the people who know his name.
Exactly.
The people's names that I know. I follow a good amount of ex-Islamists, you could say, on Twitter. Majid I follow. I trust.
Right.
I've seen a change in him. I've seen fruits in him.
All right. So Stuart the Brit says, Resistance chicks informed me about Trump the last 3 years. Hated him before, but now I give him my time freely. Jim West says... and again, Jim's in the UK as well. If Trump starts to go in for huge wars, then he deserves to be panned over but so far he hasn't. Mm-hmm. Well said.
Yeah, and remember, he inherited a boat that was going full steam into toppling Bashar al-Assad. Full steam. Bam, 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 bam. Under Obama, under Bush, under Clinton. You guys... There's going to be some steps like this on the way out.
Yeah.
He wants to bring the troops out of Afghanistan. He wants to... We did not topple Bashar al-Assad. Trump gets 1,000 brownie points for that.
Right.
Okay? We're not at war with North Korea. He did something that nobody else could do, and I believe it's the prayers of the people.
Speaking of North Korea, though, Rocket Man still is trying to feel his oats out there.
I think
he just likes notoriety. Mm-hmm. He just wants to be famous.
All right. Hustler magazine.
Oh.
That's Cincinnati's claim to stupid fame. Sends Congress Christmas card depicting graphic assassination of President Trump. How can they not have been? The Hustler magazine, a grotesque pornographic monthly publication run by Larry Flint, sent Congress a Christmas card depicting a graphic assassination of President Trump. The front of the card showed a cartoon holding a smoking gun with the caption, "I just shot Donald Trump on Fifth Avenue and no one arrested me."
How is that not considered like a threat?
This was reference to Trump's lawyers arguing in court that the president could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not be charged. The inside of the card showed a dead, bloody Donald Trump with 2 shotgun wounds to the trunk of his body. Everyone surrounding Trump's dead body was cheering there, even as Santa Claus and a child cheering assassination. Merry Christmas from all of us at Hustler.
But I thought that they were like anti-gun.
Yeah, that's a good... It's just awful here. I don't understand how they're not arrested myself. You cannot have that's a threat. Official holiday card. The left are particular lunatics doing Trump dead, wanting Trump dead. Pretty crazy there. So now I'm going to go, just ending with something that hopefully will make you laugh a little bit. Joe Biden.
Not again.
Making a series of kind of gaffes.
Like, it hurts me. Like, here's the thing. I am not a Joe Biden fan. I wish him to find Jesus, but I don't like him. Okay? I don't like him. That being said, it hurts me to see him continuing to, like, do these things.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't want to see him keep doing this.
So here we have him. I believe this is the clip of him saying that...
it's embarrassing. That the World War II ended before the 1920s.
Yeah. Let me see.
Catholics like me, back at the end of the potato famine, or whether it was in the 1920s after World War II, these great waves of immigration that came, or after...
The great immigration that came in these great waves after World War II in the 1920s. This one was crazy for me.
I can't. Like, how does that happen? Because, I get the flubs that he's had before. Like, when he was president in, 1975 or whatever he said that one time, or when he was vice president. Those were times you lived through, okay? Joe, you weren't alive in 1920.
So here's one, but then I'm going to show you another one. One of my favorite reasons women drop out of college.
Oh my.
The greatest reason why women drop out of college?
That's weird. But then here, this is the weirdest one yet.
But what was the greatest reason why women drop out of college?
I don't know. I don't know. That was just a clip. But to this one here, Joe Biden is a secret white supremacist.
Oh, listen. We all knew that, yeah.
No, but listen. Wait, come back. It's been viewed too many times.
Our culture is not imported from some African nation or some Asian nation. It's our English jurisprudential culture, our European culture.
Listen again.
Our culture is not imported from some African nation or some Asian nation. It's our English jurisprudential culture, our European culture.
He's a white nationalist. He's the alt-right. That's what the alt-right says over and over and over again. Our white culture, our English culture, our European culture.
How is he getting away with that? That's complete insanity.
It's so racist. Our culture isn't made up of African culture or Asian culture.
I got news for you, Joe. America is a melting pot. We are made up of everybody.
So what we have, what's so crazy is that...
Not European, English, whatever you said.
It's so gross. It's so gross. We have in America a melting pot of people from all over the entire world. But what I think that if he was really trying to say what was right, what we do say here is our laws are based on English jurisprudence.
And he said culture.
He said culture. Culture is white nationalist. Culture is alt-right. Joe Biden's alt-right.
That's really embarrassing. That is so bad. Like that. This is painful for me to hear him say these things. Yeah. And to think that people are being duped by this guy.
Right.
Like, it's one thing if he's supposed to be standing up again for all the woke, not racist, and all these people, they think that if they're going to support him, they are on the side of right and whatnot, okay? They're being duped. They are. So I guess I'm just thinking to myself, if you found a guy that was stupid or whatever and wasn't racist, trying to be the figurehead for the non-racist people, whatever. Like, do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
We also have him being very woke here on plastic bags.
No.
And an African from Kenya said that we don't have plastic bags. Everybody takes their own bag. Will you ban plastic bags?
What's your focus? Because in Kenya we are trying to clean the environment. No plastic bags. You go with your bag.
The market. Well, I agree with you 100%. We should not be allowing plastic. And what we should do is phasing it out. And if you know...
So 100% nationwide ban on plastic bags. We could get into... Listen, killing the sea turtles. I'm not a fan of plastic, but this is just virtue signaling at its finest.
So on Periscope, Refocus Zone says, the more Biden talks, the more he exposes his unbalanced mind and worsening dementia. Tom 5555555 says, I wouldn't leave that creep alone with my dog.
He sounds like a guy in the KKK, and it's our culture. Our European culture.
I take offense, because here's the deal. I've tried to tell people so many times that I am black inside, because I love the black culture. I'm not like obsessed with it, but I really do love it. And I love their music, and I love their family oriented values. Like, I love that. And so when I think of America, yes, slavery was horrible and it never, ever, ever should have happened. But what God does is he takes something that was really bad and he makes it beautiful.
But we can learn from that and grow from that.
Okay, and so to me, out of that, God turning that awful, horrific thing called slavery beautiful, we have these, these African, what are they called? Not the hymns, but the
spirituals.
The spirituals.
The spirituals.
And they're so moving.
Yeah.
Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Now wade in the water. God's gonna trouble these waters. So I love that culture is now a part of America's culture. If you were to take that away,
it wouldn't be the same.
We wouldn't be the same. So the fact that Joe is just like omitting that, I'm like, I take offense. Yeah. I would be really upset. I'm sorry.
It's so funny because I do think about it all the time, and I say it, and I unashamedly say it. I'm sorry the way you got here. I'm glad that black people and Africans are here.
I can't even imagine our life without black people here in America. Like, I don't even want to picture an America like that. Like, I don't know. So the fact that he's saying that, I'm just like, dude, and you're trying to get all these people that have been brainwashed that you're the party for black people?
Yeah,
like,
so
what?
That was really bad. All right.
That's the best. He's the best they can come up with.
Yeah. I'm going to leave you with this kind of update. Former father-in-law of the guy who went and stabbed everybody in New York at the Jewish Hanukkah, 7th night of Hanukkah.
Yeah.
His former father-in-law of Muncie, a synagogue stabber, Grafton Thomas, says he identifies as a Muslim. No surprise. 5 people were stabbed in an anti-Semitic attack inside a rabbi's house in Muncie, New York on Saturday. The anti-Semitic attack occurred on the 7th day of Hanukkah. According to reports, this black male entered in with a machete and it was horrible. His family says police found anti-Semitic writings at his apartment during their search. His family says he's not a terrorist. But his former father-in-law says Thomas's former stepfather, John Joe Kennedy told Heavy in an interview that through the time he knew him up until 2014, Grafton had grown increasingly aggressive and unstable, even attacking him with a fire extinguisher. He believes Thomas is mentally ill and also provided some biographical details, saying that Thomas had previously served in the military, was born in America to a family with roots in Guyana, once worked on a chicken farm, and identified as a Muslim. I've also seen reports that he does identify with the Black Hebrew movement as well. So there's the update there.
We called that here first on Resistance Chicks.
Yeah. Kind of sad news. I was kind of, do this European news or not. Julian Assange is being tortured to death. Quote, I am dying here. A very sedated Julian Assange told a friend that he was dying on Christmas Eve. Because of Assange's condition during the phone call, concerns about his health have mounted. His suffering amounts to torture at the hands of government. Assange's crime was publishing the truth. He gathered information, none of which was fabricated or fake, and published what the government is doing to other countries and the lengths at which they'll do to enslave the masses. For that crime, Assange is being tortured in what can be summed up as a gulag. And this is from Mac Slavo via the shtfplan.com. The powers that shouldn't be don't want someone who knows the truth to live to tell it, and that's become painfully obvious. Assange sounded like a shell of a man he once was during Christmas Eve phone call, British journalist Vaughn Smith told RT. I'm going to see if this is a video, because that would be better, but it looks like it might be a video.
Smith's an independent video journalist and also a friend of Julian Assange, and kindly joins me on the line now. Very good evening to you, Vaughan. I can't imagine Julian Assange got too many phone calls he could make, but he did make one of them to you, I believe, on Christmas Eve. What did he say about how he feels his mental, physical condition and the conditions of Belmarsh prison where he is?
To be honest, he didn't talk too much about his conditions. Julian rang me because he spent Christmas with me and my family in 2010 while on bail all that time ago. I think he simply wanted a few minutes of escape and to talk to us because of the memories he had of that, happy memories. He was slurred, his speech was slurred, he was speaking slowly. Now, Julian is a highly articulate, very clear person when he speaks, and he sounded awful, and it was very upsetting to hear him. So he didn't actually say that he was sedated. It seemed pretty obvious that he was, and the idea of him being sedated has come from several people who visited him, who've clearly been told, and the British government have been asked about it, and they refuse to address that matter. What they say is they're not mistreating him, but clearly he's being kept in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day, and they're not addressing these allegations, and I think we need to know more about it. What is happening to Julian? What are they doing to him?
I just wondered what your thoughts were at the time, because you must have had lots of questions you wanted to ask him out of natural curiosity, especially given you're a journalist, but at the same time you're thinking, let's talk about what he wants to talk about.
Yes, I understood from what he said that he was allowed one call for Christmas, and that he chose to call us. And so he spoke to my family and to my wife and my children, and we just wanted to do what we could to cheer him up. It was incredibly sad to hear him. He's obviously having a really vile time, and I just don't understand. So why is he in Belmarsh prison in the first place? He's a remand prisoner. Actually, putting somebody in Belmarsh is an incredibly expensive thing to do. Why are we spending that money on Julian Assange? He's not a danger to the public.
I wanted to ask you, given the reports he's in solitary confinement, why on earth would that be? One tends to think of perhaps dangerous individuals or people who are a danger to themselves being put in solitary confinement, but why Julian Assange?
I think the British government need to answer some questions here, and we're not getting the answers. There are too many questions like this. Now, the thing is, what is clear is that what is happening to Julian is much more about vengeance and setting an example to dissuade other people from holding American power to account in this way. Perhaps we're supposed to know these things about him. I mean, it sounds awful, but is that really possible? I think we need some answers from the British government. Why are they treating him like this? Why can't we have some independent assessment? 100 international doctors have asked to arrange a visit, or at least to send some representatives to check on him, but that hasn't been allowed. Nils Melzer, the UN rapporteur on torture, has been very clear about Assange's mistreatment and describes it in the most appalling terms, and yet it claims very recently in November that the British government have completely ignored his request to see Julian his health properly assessed.
How did he compare to the Julian Assange that you know in terms of how he spoke and his spirits?
Julian was extremely good company over Christmas in 2002.
Okay, so I'm going to stop that there. This is, you guys can watch the end of that. But
do we know how long he has to be, like how long he's sentenced?
He's not even being sentenced right now. He's waiting a trial, I believe, or I don't even know. I don't know the update on Julian Assange, actually, to be honest with you. Let's see. Yeah, it's a really sticky situation because I know they're trying to extradite him to the United States. He was in the Ecuadorian embassy since 2012. He's denied the ability to defend himself in court. And so, yeah,
it's almost like they're just keeping him as a life prisoner and torturing him until he dies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one with authority is standing up and saying this is wrong.
And
Trump should be standing up and calling out. He should make a special phone call to Boris and say, get this taken care of.
He should. Under supposedly Trump's State Department, they want to bring him here, try him in the United States, and put him in prison forever. So that's why he was in the Ecuadorian embassy in the first place, was because he knew that it was rumored that the U.S. had an extradition request on him. Then it was true, and it's a big mess. And I wonder where the freedom voices in the UK are, who hate Trump and believe that, journalists should be able to journalize or whatever. So, guys, this wraps up our show for today. We have a lot to cover for European news on Sunday, so come back at 1 o'clock for that.
Including the Pope getting violent with an admirer.
That was funny. Do you have anything you want to read from Periscope or Facebook here?
Let's see. No, because sometimes they get onto off conversations, and it's hard to keep track.
What about Periscope or...
Let me go over there. He's awaiting his next trial in March.
Okay,
he shouldn't be in solitary confinement. If Assange was only allowed one call for Christmas, why didn't he call his wife and kids? Well, maybe he gets to call his wife and kids other times. I'm sure they actually get to see him from time to time. And, I know his mom speaks out.
I don't think he's married. Julian Assange.
Is he not? I don't know.
He does have kids, though.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think he is married. But his mom is fighting for him. She tweets out. She's trying to stay active. She's just a little lady that doesn't have, a strong voice. It's really, really sad. So, yeah, I think that's it.
Well, here's the good news.
Here's the good news.
God's still on the throne. Now, I hate to leave on an open-ended thing, but this is a saga that is to be continued.
Yeah.
I don't have answers, and sometimes we don't have all the answers, and we have to be able to say I don't have all the answers.
Prabhat says, Michelle, the leftist press won't stand up for Assange because they are only bothered about their own skins.
That's true. That's true.
And I think that, in all honesty, it's in everyone who has power's interest that Assange die quietly, because he does not care whether you're on the right or the left. He will expose your faults. And that's what he did, and that's why everybody's trying to make an example of him, to say we're part of the elite, and you don't expose us. You just don't do that, and this is what happens. They are trying to they're trying to do to him worse than than Snowden. It's like Snowden at least was able to make it out, and he's, someplace else, but they're literally killing Julian Assange so that nobody chooses to stand up, against the machine.
Right. Okay, guys, maybe we have a song or something. You want to just wade in the water? The rest verses of that.
Sure.
Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble these waters. Who's that young girl dressed in red? Looks like the children that Moses led. Who's that girl all dressed in red? God's gonna trouble these waters. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble these waters. Who's that young girl dressed in white? Must be the children of the Israelite. Who's that young girl dressed in white? God's gonna trouble these waters. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble these waters. Who's that young girl dressed in blue? Must be the children that's coming through. Who's that young girl dressed in blue? God's gonna trouble these waters. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble these waters. You don't believe that I've been redeemed. Just so the whole lake goes looking for me. I don't know that verse. I don't know.
I think we messed it up, and that's okay. It sounded fine the way
that's
we sang
what
it.
I've always sung it.
I think it's, who's that young girl dressed in red? Wade in the water. Must be the children that Moses led. God's gonna trouble these waters.
Okay.
Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble these waters. Who's that young girl dressed in white? Wade in the water. Must be the children of the Israelite. Oh, God's gonna trouble these waters. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble these waters.
Okay.
God's gonna trouble these waters. All right, you guys. I'm so glad that you were here with us today. I hope that you have had a happy New Year celebration. I'm going to plug our video one more time that we did for New Year's Day. It was literally our 3rd year anniversary video. I said that I was going to find, maybe I'll do that for Sunday, our very first episode. I want to play you a clip of that to show the difference. It's going to be really fun.
So, step 6, I think, on the 7 steps of reclaiming the culture war, and keep going back to these. So when you have a situation like this, there's something you can do. When you think about Julian Assange, if you get into a place where you're depressed or sad or you feel like there's no control, you're not operating in the fullness of God that God has for you. And I'm learning this my own self. Of God, what you can do stuff in the spiritual realm. So what we're going to do here right now is say to the situation, peace, be still. We're saying to the situation around Julian Assange, to the evil people who are totally treating him unfairly and unjustly, peace, be still. And try that with me. Peace, be still. Calm the storm around Julian Assange. Peace, be still. It's not a peace like going at the spa. Jesus told the storm it was a force. So the force in the storm around Julian Assange, peace, be still. The force in the Middle East, peace, be still.
Yeah.
These are my American brothers and sisters. We do not need to keep sending them into to places where they're going to come back missing a limb or an eye or deaf, like Den Crenshaw lost his eye.
I'm going to show you guys this.
Peace,
Oops,
be still.
That's not what I wanted. Wait, wait, close player. I found it.
Our very first episode
right.
in the basement. We had
Hello,
pretty
everybody.
good lighting.
Welcome to the first inaugural episode of Resistance Chicks. All right.
Great.
So you want to explain a little about what we're doing?
Okay, so given the debacle of the media during this past election, November 2016, we decided that, you know what, I love alternative media.
Me too.
So
I'm so tired of being like force-fed junk over and over the same stories. They just mix them up a little bit. It's like
it doesn't matter what channel that you watch, you're going to get the same story, and they're going to say the exact same lines over and over again.
It's just and so I love the alternative media. I love that people. Whether you voted for Trump or not, I believe that most people had to look at these other... I mean, people had qualms about voting for Clinton because they started to look at...
They were suspect. It was kind of like, wait a minute, I'm getting this... That's not right. I lived... So many people like my mom's age, right? And even our age a little bit. We lived through the Clintons. We've already been there. And so when it came up again, even the people that supported the Clintons the first time around, they're like, wait a minute, you're feeding us the same junk, the same 2-for-1 type platform. There's something fishy here. We know that everybody that knows the Clintons gets the old axe.
So, what we're most excited about is that people
we're very excited.
Waking up, and that there is such a hunger to know real truth, and to combat, like, what they have done is what my mom always would say. What somebody accuses you of is
that's what they're guilty of.
And so everybody kept saying the media is biased. The biased media, they're not telling us the truth. And wherever the Trump rallies were, people would boo the media, boo CNN, because
we did go to the first thank you rally
in Cincinnati.
Okay, so I'm not going to play the whole thing here, but it's literally, if you go to our channel and you just look up Resistance Chicks, this was our very first episode. We just titled it Resistance Chicks. January 1st, 2017. So it literally is the episode that we did the other day is literally 3 years to the day from that one. And the very next episode we moved upstairs and we had the TV behind us. We only did one episode in the basement, corner table there, but the idea behind the show is still the same, and we're still doing it. We've had
Donald Trump tweets this out.
Major highs, some
Trump
lows.
Middle East policy seems sound. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, Qassem Soleimani, and he tweeted this out with his own wink. Donald Trump retweeted somebody. My president is so funny. Oh my God. He even makes the death of a terrorist funny, like a joke. I don't know. I think he knows the severity of it. But
all right,
somebody had said that he tweeted out the Ayatollah. I wondered if he quote tweeted him somehow, but I might have missed it.
So the first video that we ever made on Mass Faith 3 is of my little cousin James playing with the car, and you had asked for a I think we should probably take that down for family probably
reasons.
I think I might have. Well, no one's even gonna find it, but you had asked for a video camera for your birthday, and we all pulled together. I think I got I don't know, $35 from everybody, and they were expensive back then. This is 2009. I want to say, yeah.
A video camera, there was no cell phone cameras.
And then we had a tree taken down in the backyard. That was our second video.
I have to tell you, it was it didn't have HD quality to it, but it was much easier
to hold,
to film, like with a camera. Like filming with the cell phones is not ideal.
So I love that Mr. Mikey here is so proud. He says that he was a Mass Faith 3 follower before the Resistance Chicks started. Thank you for that.
We were
Mikey.
worried that when we because we found that when we put up some of our videos that we made on our Resistance Chicks channel on Mass Faith 3, because we already had a huge following on there.
We didn't have a huge
following. We had many views. We had a ton of views.
Because of the Virgin Diaries.
And the Building Outdoor Steps. Because it was a more legit channel, and it had been legit for a long time, and had been monetized. That channel was being put forward more. So we would put up 2 videos. We would have thousands of views on the Mass Faith 3 and only hundreds of views on the Resistance Chicks. And then that was the algorithm putting this channel forward more.
Right.
And that channel in the beginning was able legit to go head to head with the big channels. Mm-hmm. That's how we got
our videos were above InfoWars sometimes. Like we would have videos where we were covering a topic and they're covering the same topic and we were above them. Just because of the algorithm, whatever. We got in there before they did or whatever.
It's the algorithm we got in there before they did. And so we were legit going head to head. And that's why we got 10,000 subscribers in the first 6 months of almost 6 months.
And they've been holding us there ever since.
For two and a half years. They've kept us at 10,000 subscribers.
They literally pull, I want to say, between 50 and 60 subscribers from us like almost every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day. So we're gaining them, but they're pulling them.
And I think our main thing that kind of holds us back, and this is kind of our own choice, is we don't do cross interviews with other channels. And in doing so, you gain subscribers, you gain notoriety.
Right.
And you can move up.
It's not that we don't do them, because we have done them. We just don't do them. It's not a part of our channel. It's not something that we do.
Exactly.
We don't make it every month we're going to interview somebody or whatever.
We have a life that we have to live.
And scheduling that kind of stuff, and to be perfectly honest...
No, I'm not even talking about scheduling.
You have to develop a relationship with people in order to do that.
It takes a lot of time, and we have a life...
To build a friendship.
But, guys... I have a life that I had to live, and I don't want people on my front doorstep trying to say something to me like they do to Candace Owens. Like, seriously, Candace Owens out in public, and she couldn't even eat, and people were surrounding her. I don't want that.
I know.
I don't want that, okay? If our message can get out there and reach people, I have a family. I need to keep my family safe. But I still need to get the word out. So I'd rather be stealth. And I believe it's God protecting us.
Right.
And kudos to those people who get out there. Right? But Alex Jones is being sued. Okay? People who get kicked off of Twitter. People lose their jobs. I am happy with you guys coming to our channel. I'm happy with you sharing it. I'm happy that what's so crazy is that we go places and people know who we are. Okay, when you go to like a Trump thing or a gun rally. We went to a gun rally in Columbus.
And one of the speakers knew who we were. We didn't know who they were.
And we went to the Trump rally and we had people come up and say Resistance Chicks. So that's fine. I'm fine with that because I got to farm. I got to take care of things, and I don't want to be, opening my front door and then people like, hey. Tucker Carlson had people surrounding his house.
Can you imagine that?
In the middle of the night, and his wife is like freaking out. He's got kids freaking out. Not for me, Jack.
So we're happy with where we are at. God is all, and that's the thing. That goes back to what I said in the middle of the show. I don't base my life on numbers.
I think our channel will, in 2020, I'm going to make a prediction.
Here it comes.
I think our channel will get bigger again when it's safe again. It was safe when we started.
Oh, yeah.
We were on InfoWars. We were gaining tons of subscribers. We went to the Red Pill Expo. People knew who we were there.
Yeah.
At the Red Pill Expo, people who had already planned to go there knew who we were. Oh, Resistance Chicks. We had people come. We had some guy. We had a guy who came up to us saying that his friends were go meet them. They're going to be there. I mean, it's just like worldwide. People know who we are, and that's cool. And I'm fine with that. I got one of the top politicians, Dominique Tarzinski, knows who we are in Poland. It's humbling. It's exciting. It's fun to get our message out there all over the world. It's fun, and you guys make it fun. You guys are here from all over the world, and it boggles my mind.
You're literally the only reason that makes it fun.
I love it. I love it. It's so cool that you guys are here from all over the world, all over America. You all come from different backgrounds, and it blesses me so much that you're here, and I get so excited to come and do the show because I'm talking to people all over the world.
Stuart the Brit
Who
says,
gets to do that?
You're there at home. Me here in Wiltshire, Wales, Essex, etc. Funny world, the internet. Exactly.
It makes
it's amazing.
I mean, you guys, I love, my
It really
favorite
is
thing to do
amazing.
is to do the roll call, especially on Sundays. Where are y'all from? It's so cool. It's like, it boggles my mind. And I feel like a little kid sometimes, you know. Everybody else plays it cool. I'm like, no! This guy from Poland knows who I am, man. That's awesome. Right? I don't play it. I'm not playing it cool. I've been on InfoWars twice. We've called into Nigel Farage's show so much so that they say, "Hey, Michelle, I remember you." Oh my gosh! Hey, Michelle, this is so cool. I love this. I love this. I love it. And so, if I could do it and I could still keep my life, and I don't need, you know, it's not too interrupted. And I can bless you guys. It blesses me. I mean, I read the comments. That last video, I saw so many comments. You guys, thank you for leaving them. Even afterwards, it's blessed me. I really needed to hear this.
Yeah.
I always, you know, people are like, you need a donate button. We will take your money. It's fine, but we're not going to ask for it. And the reason
put it towards the channel.
And the reason we ain't gonna ask for it is because I feel like I should be paying you to listen to me. I'm so grateful that people are listening to me.
Don't tell them that.
It's so exciting. That's people are listening to us. It's so exciting to me. I love it.
Okay, so if you don't know by now, yes, we are sisters. Why is that a question? Like, okay, so I was talking to Horatio about this. Let me show you.
A new person, huh?
Well,
New-ish person.
Nels has been there before, but so you obviously didn't know that we're sisters. Hang on. Do this, Leah. Get kind of close. Just come right in. No. Now look at the camera. Let me get down to your level. You're going down. No, just come even with me. Okay. See, I think so. Horatio said today, our noses. Look at our noses, guys. Take a minute to look at our noses. Look at our mouths.
Yours is bigger,
but they're similarly
Yours
shaped.
Is huge.
Okay, thank you.
Your cheekbones are way more defined.
What I'm saying is, our chins kind of come in here the same. Our jaws kind of stand out here the same. Your face is a little bit more round. But people that question, like, I get not thinking we're twins, even though we get asked if we're twins all the time. But we look to me so similar. Like
on my thinner days. On my thinner days, I get...
You can't. It doesn't matter, because even on my bigger days, my face doesn't go round.
No, what is hilarious, I've noticed that on my thinner days, people ask me more, because I get this a little bit, just a tiny bit.
No, it is what it is. Sometimes, though, when I talk like this, I look like the alien from Independence Day.
When we watch our shows back, it's too much for me.
It is, yeah.
Because, like, I don't like to watch
But
myself.
what I'm saying is, I think we look enough alike for anybody to look at us and say, oh, they're sisters, like, instantly.
You know what my mom hates? Is when I make the faces.
Oh, the fish face?
And when I do things like with my face, she says, stop it.
I can't even make the fish face anymore.
She never uses the word stupid, but it's so...
Do the fish
we're
face again.
totally kids on here.
I grew up doing that, but now I can't make it anymore.
You can't?
I can't I can't do it anymore. No, you got to do the gills when you do.
You know who taught me that? My grandma Mama, who was like this, like, really posh Southern lady.
I can't do it anymore. I used to be able to do it.
I'm not actually physically
now we're just getting
related
silly.
to her. She was an adulteress who stole my grandfather.
Oh, here we are with the roll call. You do pay us as redneck thing.
Their eyes are different shapes.
Our eyes are different shapes, but they're the same color.
They're cousins, like
way
the Patty
bigger.
Duke show.
Leah has bigger eyes than I do.
Yeah, my neighbors don't know me neither. Roll call, Essex, England.
Go down for the roll call.
You pay us, I see.
Glastonbury, England.
Glastonbury, England. I Found Nemo. You guys remember that one? We lost Nemo.
Fish.
No, but we actually lost a dog named Nemo this year.
Dog.
I know your sisters because you keep interrupting each other.
And that's our biggest thing. People, like, our best friends hate it when we do that. because it's difficult to have a conversation with us.
I'm not sure. Kelly, that's a nice thing to say. I'm not sure how to take it.
Kelly says we're much more beautiful in person.
She came and bought pigs
and Kelly did,
piggies.
Yes. And Mr. Mikey says you can tell your sisters because y'all always finishing each other's thoughts.
That is a nice way to say interrupting.
I don't think that ever happens. We try to be really good on this show.
You should see when we're around our friends. They can't handle it because Matt does it too.
Wellingborough, England, says Jim West.
Wellingborough.
Topo, there's I really need the different hat there for that.
I wish I could show you I don't really want to show you my cousin's picture, but my cousin put this on for Christmas.
No, can we show it?
No.
He won't get mad.
He will. No. We don't bring in our
mad.
family.
He wouldn't.
Let's keep them separate. It was so funny though.
All right. I bet they argue.
We'll put our lives on the fire online, but not our family.
Dale says, I bet they argue and fight off a camera. I don't know what you're talking about. My neighbors don't either. Been a weather.
Sometimes I think they're Italian. And plus, we have over an acre here. It's like this vast wilderness. Sometimes you gotta shout to be heard.
Have you seen this shows of like the Hispanic moms taking their shoes off and throwing them at their kids?
The Puerto Ricans, yeah.
Is it the Puerto Ricans? Yeah. I've never done that. I've never taken my shoe off and throwing it at you.
I think that would probably be the nicest thing you've ever done.
We have to sign off. We're getting silly now. Okay. We love you. God loves you. God bless. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. We have a P.O. Box 107, Milford, Ohio, 45150. If you send us your letters, we will read them on air. We are going to be doing a mail call on Sunday.
You two should have your own show.
Right.
Oh, wait,
we already do, says Baker Mom. You know, I say that sometimes about our better episodes. I'm like, man, wouldn't it be great if we had our own show? We're really good at this. Crickets. Okie dokie. All right, so we're going to be back here on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our European UK world news. We're going to talk about the Pope beating that lady. I can't. Go Google it. Oh my gosh. Sandra says I used to throw socks at my sister.
See, that's a way to do it. As long as they're not filled with rocks or something. Dude, we're going to totally offend all our bullshit Catholic viewers. But you know what? They probably don't like this Pope anyways.
Oh, they'll be fine.
This Pope's not a good Pope.
Have a wonderful rest of your evening, wherever you are. If you're in the UK, go to bed. It's late. What are you, crazy or something?
You know what? We should have, like, a section of, like, doing, like, a book a day to show you what kind of books that we read. What's on your shelf? We should have a section. What's on your shelf? Here's one. I have a bookshelf next to me. Michelle, what's the pan over?
Pudding. It's right there. Pudding food by.
No, it literally says pudding.
I know, but I'd like to say pudding. Pudding food by. It's for canning.
It's the canning book. This is What's on Your Shelf. In our section of What's on Your Shelf, there are wonderful things with making preserves low and no sugar, pectin.
If you count, starting
canning
early, we've been
fruits.
going live for 3 hours.
I just thought it might be a really good section.
Okay.
So we don't have to like go over it a whole bunch.
Sandra says, yeah, we're not crazy about him. Praying. Good for you, Sandra. All right, so we will see you back here Sunday. Be blessed. We love you. God loves you.
Yep, God loves you.
I was cold.